Well, good day, my friends. It's your old pal Jordan the Lion, beautiful Katie, and the beautiful Jaw, and we are departing Florida. But actually, we're going to make a stop along the way in Jacksonville to visit a great character actress with a lot of interesting works under her belt, but a lot of people really only know her for one thing. Large Marge.
Dropped off the Empire State Building.
Daze with Jordan the Lion. It begins right now. Our first trip to Jacksonville, and you are an Alice Nunn fan also, so yes, I know this will be a lot of fun.
This is going to be a really cool story. We had a lot of fun researching this. There are so many amazing shows, amazing movies that she had really cool little parts in, a really cool career, so we'll find out all about it.
And there was something we were kind of surprised to find out about her that's kind of it was one of those big Hollywood secrets. Or maybe not so much a Hollywood secret. We'll tell you when we get there.
Yes, we will.
So we're actually going to the old Jacksonville City Cemetery. That's where she's buried. I guess that's a little local history, geez. All right. Well, this is kind of a creepy one. I mean, honestly, this is the kind of place I would expect Large Marge to be buried. Now, we do know she's buried with her family, but we're not exactly sure because it's not greatly marked. We know it's section 3, so we're gonna give it a shot over here. So we entered the archway old city cemetery was right there, and if you look, Katie and I found Alice. You can see these colored houses back there, and she's right here under a nice Spanish moss tree here. You can see there's her parents to the left and Alice Elizabeth Nunn with, you gotta love it, somebody's left a little dinosaur from the Wheel In from Pee-wee's. That's where, you know, she picks up Pee-wee in the movie. It's probably what she's known for the most, was Large Marge. Picks him up in her semi and gives him a ride and tells him the scariest scene she's ever saw. Accident, and then shows that scary face.
It looked like this.
And Pee-wee's pretty unnerved after that and just tells her to let him out, and she lets him out at the Wheel In restaurant. And then Pee-wee goes up in the dinosaur with the waitress there. Now what's crazy is that you and I, we were talking about Alice Nunn, and one of the things when I was a kid, I saw the movie in the drive-in, and that terrified me when her face turns into a monster.
Yes.
And you read online that that's considered what? Like top 5?
It's number 5 on the top 25 movie scares in a non-horror film. Yeah, so I mean, I think that's one we all remember. If you saw the movie as a kid, you remember that scene.
It looked like this.
It's very quick, but it's terrifying.
And then of course Pee-wee walks into the restaurant and he says, "Large Marge sent me," and he sees that picture on the wall. Large Marge has been dead. So it's a great moment in the movie.
It is.
Large Marge, she's...
It was 10 years ago. Why, tonight's the anniversary.
It means a lot to me, especially because when I first started vlogging, when I started this channel, I hadn't been doing it but maybe just a couple of weeks, and I was probably into maybe my 20th or 30th episode, and someone commented, "Hey, it's a real bummer that I was just going past the Wheel In and I see a dumpster out front, so it looks like they're gonna demolish the place." And I immediately got in my car, I drove out, and I vlogged the day before they demolished everything. I vlogged what I could through the windows and everything, shared the last moments of the wheel-in, and then the next day I saw online people posting photos that they completely took it all down. So that place is completely gone. But Alice had a pretty fascinating history in movies. I remember seeing her as a kid. I loved the movie 3 O'Clock High, and she was the nurse in 3 O'Clock High, as well as she was in Mommy Dearest, if you've ever seen Mommy Dearest. Now, Katie and I were looking at her list of things, we're like, oh yeah, she was in this and this and this. So we're gonna tell you a handful of the things that she was known for. People always know her for being Large Marge. She had a 31-year acting career, and she was in more than 50 films and TV shows. And one of the ones that I remember was she was in Petticoat Junction, when you'd watch the old reruns of that. And Katie kind of brought up, she said, you know, it's interesting, she was on a lot of episodes of the Tony Orlando and Dawn variety show. We couldn't find those episodes, but wonder what she did, because when you see her on Pee-wee, she's just scary, and in a lot of the things that she was in, she would always play a nurse or something like that. But I wonder what she was doing on the variety show. She was in Mame. She was the fat lady in Mame. She was in Brian De Palma's The Fury, playing Mrs. Callahan. She was in Delusion. Of course, like I said, she was in Mommy Dearest. Now, I also, when I was a kid, I was a fan of the Griffin Dunn Madonna movie, Who's That Girl? And she was in Who's That Girl also. I also recognized her when I was in junior high school. We had to read Johnny Got His Gun, and then after we read it, we watched the movie, and she was in Johnny Got His Gun also, playing one of the nurses, which was, that was a really, really sad book and sad movie. Now, you and I both are history fans of, like, you know, true crime, and sadly, like, one of the stories that's really famous from Hollywood was Rebecca Schaeffer, and we were kind of surprised to find out that that was Alice Nunn's last acting role. Yep,
that was her last television appearance, was an episode on My Sister Sam.
Yeah, that was a show that that poor girl was, she was like 18 years old at the time. It was Rebecca Schaeffer, yeah. It was
a dark side of Hollywood. I mean, I think you actually went to her apartment at one point.
Yeah, I went to her apartment because the story was that she had a stalker that was able to look up her address through her driver's license and went to her house, kind of bugged her. She signed an autograph, asked him to go away, and then he came back later, bugged her again, and then ended up killing her. And we were just like, that's so weird that Alice Nunn's last role would be on My Sister Sam. Mm-hmm. Now, we were also kind of shocked to find out that, you know, in her day, it's not something they would have talked about a lot, but it's something that when we looked her up, we kept coming across, was that she was never married, but she had a lifelong partner named Martha Harris.
Martha Harris. It was in a lot of different things we read about. We couldn't find really any information about her. We couldn't find any photograph. There wasn't any.
So if anybody knows, that's kind of why we're mentioning. If anybody knows, was she in the industry?
In the comments, everybody. If you know anything about that, we'd be interested to know, because there were multiple sources that indicated that this.
And they lived together in West Hollywood, where Alice actually passed away of a heart attack living in her apartment in West Hollywood. So we were, I know times were different and everything, but we were kind of surprised that maybe her partner was not out here with her. Then we read that she was buried with her parents here. So I guess it wasn't all that surprising that she wasn't buried in Hollywood, but especially for, you know, the times that she was living. She passed away just a couple of years after Pee-wee. Her very, very memorable role as Pee-wee, but that's really cool. I mean, we found all kinds of different, you know, she had a 30-year career, so there was all kinds of different eras of her looks, and she was a character actor, so she never looked exactly the same, but you knew that face, especially from Pee-wee. I think that one was the one that etched it in my mind, so anytime I ever saw her in anything, we saw she was in like episodes of Hazel and WKRP and
Happy Days.
Yeah, Happy.
Love Boat. I mean, any memorable show between the 70s and the 80s, I guarantee you she maybe had a part in it.
Yeah, Macmillan and Wife, Ironside, Emergency. She was on Chico and the Man, 8 is Enough. I mean, she had a bit part in just about everything. Heart to Heart, the Sally Struthers TV version of 9 to 5. I mean, even if it was a small part, she was a working actress. So nice to see that people come out here and remember her. You know they do if that little dinosaur's out here.
And she was a Jacksonville native, so her parents are here, she's here. This is where she was born.
Rest in peace. They did cremate her, so her ashes would be interred here. You know, I would love to know what happened to the picture, or who has the picture from the movie of her on the wall, the Large Marge picture.
Why, tonight's the anniversary.
Because that's, you know, such an iconic piece from that movie. And it's pretty cool for someone who really wasn't a star in anything, was always kind of a co-star, or, you know, just a character actor. I don't want to say just character actor, but didn't get a lot of recognition. You probably wouldn't know her name. It's kind of cool that in a movie like Pee-wee, where she had such a cool part, that a piece of the cinema memorabilia lives on somewhere out there. So if anybody knows where that is, please comment. I would love to go visit it if it's on display. But Large Marge will live on. Thank you all for watching from Jacksonville. We are going to call it a day. Have a great night, and tell them Large Marge sent you. Goodbye.